the man about town, Petty Murphy, reporting to you live from the back of the classroom with Alcata News Network. What is that? Wait a minute. Stay tuned. Breaking news.
Applying for college, immigrant from South Asian descent is coming under fire for a label he claimed as a high school senior applying for college. According to internal data from a hack of Columbia University, the New York Times obtained, Mamdani, who was born in Uganda, checked a box that he was Asian, but also checked the box for Black or African American on his Columbia University application during a time when elite colleges factored in race in the admissions process.
The fact that
Crossing the border unlawfully is illegal, right? Illegal entry. Arc-Late. USC 1325. First offense, misdemeanor. Subsequent offenses, felony. Illegal reentry, felony. And what you also need to understand and know about seeking asylum, they have to go to the first safest country outside of their country. Or if there's no, or 2 countries over, whichever happens first. That ain't what's going on, people. Business Insider. Kamala Harris becomes first Indian American U.S. Senator. Associated Press, November 9, 2016. Attorney General Kamala Harris wins the open Senate seat to replace retirement Democratic Senator Barbara Boxer in a race that featured 2 Democrats in California. Thanks to California's unusual primary system in which the 2 top finishers from the June primary advanced to the legal election, voters were deciding between Harris and Democratic Rep Loretta Sanchez. The victory for 51-year-old Harris makes the first Indian American senator. Harris was backed by President Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, and other top Democrats. You know what? Nowhere in that article, does it say anything about her being black. Solely that she was the first Indian senator. But I digress. So what's going on here, right? Like, this the trust fund kid that was just finding things to do to pass his time until his number came up and it was his turn to enter stage and go through the process of rising amongst the ranks of the party, because I know what I'm about to say is going to make certain people feel a certain way. But I can't help but feel like that this seems like it's a script that this party's been running. It all started with Obama. Same thing. Black, African American, young, up and coming, coming up to college, early into politics, bomb, right? Then, 2016, when Kamala Harris got elected into Senate, they built her as the first senator of Southeast Asian descent elected into the American Senate. You can go back and look it up. That's what all the headlines said. Nothing about black. But then when it was time to go for vice president, Kamala became a black woman. Now here it is. We got whack rapper checking off black and African American to get into school. It's almost like it's a script that these people are playing on this side of the fence. And it just, maybe I'm tweaking. But you know, they say the world is a stage. And we keep seeing the same script over and over and over. But ain't nobody questioning why or for what reason. These are the same people who are taking your tax dollars and are just giving it away to foreign nationals. This is the same party that's now saying that we, the people, have to pay for the retirement of the IDF. So we're going to start paying retirement for retired soldiers from the IDF. But we have veterans homeless and sick in the streets, but we're going to be paying for retirement for the IDF. And all these people come from the same party that are using their constituents to fund protests and parades for the due process and rights of non-American citizens. Everything just seems a little backwards right now, and none of this is making sense. But I don't know what else to say. You tell me, am I tweaking? Or am I seeing what I'm really seeing? And what's crazy, right? When you look at the footage of the protest, I noticed a few things. It was a whole lot of old people. And then a bunch of people running around in Halloween costumes. Like, at what point did protests, just like the last time they had No King's Day and they had bouncy castles and hot dog stands and shit at a protest. At what point did protesting come from being to actually get a goal accomplished to it's the end thing to do? Bring your kids, let's have fun. We've got bouncy castles and lemonade stands. That is not revolution. That's cosplaying revolutionaries. Because it's the end thing to do. I mean, look around. What's crazy, right? No King's Day, protesting for the rights and due process of non-American citizens. But most of the flag, I saw one-piece flags. So I saw flags of anime and other foreign nations. Palestine, Mexico, several different other South American nations. It's something's not clicking. It's not adding up. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. But none of this shit is making sense. And what's crazy, right? Go look at all the former protests. Just go back, let's say 20 years, right? And look at all the protests, right? Remember Ferguson? Remember how those turned out with tear gas and all that? The only difference I see going on right now, there is one group of people missing from these protests. That is the American Negro. Black people. I'm not talking about African black or Latin America black. I'm talking about from the soil, foundational black Americans, American descendants of chattel slavery. And we haven't seen, and remember, these people have been burning the U.S. flag, burning down cars, shooting at federal agents, breaking windows on federal agent automobiles in transit. But we ain't seen them release the goons yet. And if nobody finds that interesting, I don't know what else to say. Because I remember the Floyd protest was the first time that I saw en masse them coming out. And you see how those went. Very quiet. I do understand it was during the pandemic, which in itself was crazy because people couldn't go to work. But as that was going on, and I'm not saying it didn't need to, but it's just as that was going on, it went very quiet and very smoothly. And now that we have learned our lesson and we're staying out of fights that are not our fights, these things are still going very peaceful. and they're asking where we're at. We're fighting for the stability and the safety of our neighborhoods and our families and the country. And what that means is that anyone that's coming from outside of this should be vetted. Because if any of us were to just pick up and go to another country, in order to enter, we would need a visa. And if we didn't have said visa or proper documentation in order, the ramifications will be far more strict and way more harsh than what would happen or what's happening now in reverse. You would get no free health care. You would get no SNAP benefits. You would get no luxury hotels in Times Square at over $400 a night. None of that would exist if you, as an American, were to do the same. And none of this just adding up. And I don't think what people are actually paying attention to or understanding is that all the billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that have been paid over the last 4 years to all these NGOs that have funded this for food costs, housing costs, medical care costs, then you have to think about more police, because there's an influx of everything. So everything is going up, and it's all being subsidized by the government because the corporation is just cutting the check. But the people have to pay for it. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, when everything is said and done, we have to pay for all of this. And the longer we drag it out, the higher that price tag is going to be. And while we're fighting so hard for something that should be logically, it's an oxymoron. You're fighting for the rights of illegals. And people be like, oh, it's not a crime. You can look up the statute. It is a law. First offense is a misdemeanor. But second offense, it gets bumped up and stepped up to a felony. But when people say it's not a law, it is a law. And when people were like, oh, this happened and it was a lie. It wasn't a lie. Y'all just didn't hear it. They said we're going after criminals first. So, in theory, right? If you commit a crime or break a law, when it comes to the law that you've broken, you have committed a crime, which then makes you a criminal in regards to that act. So if you have crossed or came through no point of entry, that is a crime under federal law. And you can be charged. And that is what's happening. All the scare tactics of, oh, you know what, they're coming to get you negros next. No. And will people be detained? Yes. But what you have to understand is the same liberals that put all these shelters in your community, they didn't want those same shelters in their communities. Remember that. Look up what happened in Staten Island when they started closing down schools and putting the shelters out there, and see what happened, right? Where were the shelters on the Upper East Side? Right? Well, remember though, they charge you now a toll to drive in the city to go to work to pay for the same people that they dumped in your communities and are forcing you to pay for. But hey, and if rapper number one gets in the office, it's only gonna get worse. So get up out of here. Y'all keep your eyes to the stars. Keep that head on the swivel. Remember, realize, and transparency forces accountability. Y'all be safe.